thank you for beginning in song. I know we began in song already, but to me there's never enough song. Never enough song. Yes, I've been privileged over the past, I don't even know how many years it's been, to be involved in the Then Let Us Sing project, which is an ecumenical project rooted in the United Church of Canada, supported by United Church of Canada staff and resources. But we have partners in the United Church of Christ, we have committee members from Presbyterian Church, from Anglican Church here in Canada, Disciples of Christ in the US as well. So it is an ecumenical project. The aforementioned supplement is just the first piece of the project that's come out, because we did a collection of 165 new songs that aren't in our current collections. So that's what's in that supplement. And then now we're involved in getting the entire project up online. And that is all the repertoire in Voices United, our big hymnal. I call it Heritage Hymnal, but it's only 1996. Nos Voix Unies, which is our French language collection, and More Voices, 2007. So that's about 1,350 pieces altogether going up online once we're done the project. And for those who are interested in joining us in this work, this is in partnership with GIA, who are the managers, owners of One License, the online copyright reporting system, and Hope Publishing. We're kind of a cutting edge, bleeding edge, you may say, example of this kind of work, an online project. I know when we first pitched this and asked for corporate partners to help us with this work, I was down in St. Louis at the Hymn Society, and you had a meeting with the folks from Hope, and then they leave the room and the folks from GIA come in and they can see each other and they know they're competing with each other to do this project. They came back to us 2 weeks later and said, how about we partner with you? First time they've ever partnered together in that way. And that's really exciting. So Hope has been our typesetter and so on, engraver, that I've been working with closely in that work. And One License and GIA are managing copyright and the online delivery system and so on. So how many people use One License in your churches? You could ask to join the Then Let Us Sing program, which boosts our numbers. You come in through the Then Let Us Sing portal to One License. You still have access to the full One License catalog, but eventually, like when your One License subscription renews, you'll renew at the Then Let Us Sing rate, which as we get more people joining, the rate goes down. So you'll end up paying less than you are for your current One License license, plus you'll have access to the full database of all of our scores, which are only included through that license. And I can talk more to anyone individually if they want more information on that as we go. But it's a very exciting project, I think. And we see it as just the beginning. Like, yes, we don't necessarily see putting out another print supplement, but we see this supplement as just the first of more to come. And we will continue to add to the database in chunks as we identify more repertoire and continue to grow the repertoire that we have. It's been interesting work because it means harmonizing different visions of song. A song might have appeared in Voices United, and then it appeared in Nos Voix Unies in a completely different form. And then now we have one score, which brings those together. And we've been adding languages. We've been doing things like a song like When a Poor One in Voices United, which is a Spanish song originally. It appeared in English only in Voices United. Now it's Spanish with English as the second language. So all of that kind of work has been going on. A song might have been in Korean, but just in the phonetic version. Now it's always interlined with the proper characters and phonetics as well, and the English. And we're flipping things up. Our hymn books always used to favor English language speaking congregations. They were aimed at our English congregations, whereas now the original language of a piece is the primary language, and then the other languages flow below. So, and people can continue to use the print books, because what we have discovered is as you add more languages and so on, scores get bigger. There's not much you can do. Often they've already jammed as much in to get it on one page with a single language. So you add another language, you're going on to 2 pages. But you'd have access to the online scores through the program, which gives you access to new languages and things that you can put in the hands of people in your congregation who aren't native English speakers. And then you can continue to work out of the print publications if that's easier for you as well. So it's, as you can tell, I'm very excited. So sing up, sing out, sing on. What a beautiful theme. What a beautiful theme. I was excited when Chris told me this is what you were working on. So I said, okay, I'll do my best to try and answer and speak to this theme and to just bring it into being. Another thing that Chris and I talked about was, and I know this is a very diverse organization, very diverse. How many people here are United Church, serving in United Churches? Presbyterian? Anglican? Catholic? Lutheran? See, we are diverse. Not just Protestant, we cross the threshold. If there's any other denominations represented here? I know we have some Baptists in the group, right? Yes, people serving. And I know as church musicians, now this is different for me, but many church musicians I meet are pan-denominational. How many people have served in many different denominations or more than one? There you go. See? This is the norm for church musicians, and so you are the people who get to see the genius and the wisdom of each tradition. And then you move on to another tradition and tear your hair out for a while you're trying to sort out how they do everything and all of that. I have served my entire career in the United Church of Canada. I'm a child of the United Church. My parents met in theological college and started having babies before they finished. And so I just naturally fell into this life, took my first job almost 40 years ago, and have served United Churches ever since. And I served at Vancouver School of Theology for a while, which is an ecumenical school, and so on. So I have a love for ecumenism, for that genius that we all have in our traditions. And you would have seen it in our hymnody, right? As a church historian, that was one of the things I covered in my doctoral work was watching how through the late 19th century, with kind of the birth of ecumenism, how hymnody started to cross traditions. Anglican hymns found their ways into Presbyterian hymn books and so on, and all of that. And so there is a core common tradition that we can all sing. You look at a Catholic hymn books, you'll see Protestant hymn writers in a Catholic hymn book. And that's a beautiful thing because God speaks in many different ways. I know as I was preparing, we also had discussions regarding how in mainline churches, particularly Protestant churches, mainline Protestant churches, I don't like to call it decline, but many of us are dealing with a lot of issues, cultural change. Numbers are changing in our pews, finances are getting constricted, it's getting hard to do our jobs, all of those things. So I did bring that into this presentation as well. And if you bring a different perspective, if you're in a thriving Catholic congregation with a strong immigrant population, then kudos to you, and I celebrate the joy that you would have in that community. But I do speak from those kinds of places. So, as you can probably tell, I'm a firm believer that communal singing can revitalize our church communities. So we're going to look at those 3 things: singing up, focusing on inclusive adoration, inclusive and radical adoration; singing out, embracing prophetic voice; and singing on, discovering renewal through collective song. It's a graphic there of a church with a for sale sign on the front. In my part of Canada, the Vancouver area. When I first started working in that area, there were over 100 congregations in the United Church of Canada. I couldn't tell you how many we have now, but there were probably 7 in my area, and we're down to 2 through amalgamations. I know my own church is an amalgamation of 2, and then there's 3 other churches in the area that have closed, and many of their people have joined us as well. Like, this is what we are dealing with. Resources are low. People are questioning their very sense of purpose and being, their survival as a congregation. And it's really hard to talk about renewal and bring people back to the excitement and the passion of the Christian faith when you're facing those kinds of realities. The other thing we're facing is polished music, pre-recorded music. People's expectations, when they listen to recordings, everything is perfect. You know, I do recordings. I've been doing digital recording for about 30 years now. And the ability now to fix notes and make everything sound glorious. I know Whitney Houston used to walk into the studio and do 30 takes and just leave. Just sing it 30 times, and then the producers would I'll take this phrase and this phrase and this phrase and this phrase and put it all together and create a perfect recording. That's what people are used to hearing. And so they come to church, and what do they hear? Things that don't quite sound so perfect, you know? People singing slightly or even more than slightly out of tune, instruments that aren't at pitch with each other, you know, all of those kinds of challenges that we face. Even us as church musicians, none of us are perfect. You know, we play wrong notes. We can't do everything equally well, all of those things. So there are many challenges that we face. So I think that in the midst of all of this, raising our collective voice is a profound act of defiance. We're offering a countercultural answer to our deepest needs. You know, this is partly what Jennifer was talking about this morning too. We are resisting popular culture, people, resisting. But I hope we are also inviting people into a new way of being, a way that just celebrates and laments. You know, many churches I meet, they want to be all happy clappy, but we need depth as well, don't we? We need that full expression. So these are some of the core questions I'm hoping we can get at over the next couple of days as we're talking together here. Why invest in song amid scarcity? I'm not going to try and answer these right now, but I'll toss them out there so you've heard them. How can singing foster reconciliation and renewal? And how can our collective voice restore our hope? How can our collective voice restore our hope? I should also say I'm somebody who loves to interact. So if I'm saying something that you don't quite get what I'm saying, ask me to explain it again. I'll try and find other words. If you totally disagree with me, feel free to say that's a stupid thing to say. That's okay too. I can take it. And we can have a bit of a conversation right here and now. We'll just have to make sure if anybody wants to make comments, I either have to repeat them or we get a microphone into somebody's hand just so our friends on Zoom can participate too. And if there's anybody on Zoom who wants to add things in the chat, we can get them relayed in. You know, my church worships hybrid every Sunday, and so people read from the cloud. We've had sermons from the cloud, you know, people doing chat during prayers of the people and so on, and feeding that into church. So it's very important that we include everybody. So I wanted to just take a moment right now. Have you turned to a neighbor, or a few neighbors if you wish? Folks online might want to discuss together or type things in chat and discuss that way. Just 2 questions for a few minutes. What is the difference between listening to a choir anthem, worship band, you know, organ piece, name what it is there, and being in a singing congregation? That's one question. And when has communal singing felt most vital to you, and why? So, what is the difference between listening to a choir anthem, worship band, a performance of some kind, and being in a singing congregation? And when has communal singing felt most vital to you, and why? So, take a few minutes.
So I'm going to just open that up, folks. Um, Feel free to unmute. Yeah, we have the questions there beside us, and if you can't see everybody, just go to your center, just go to your center line, and you can move the discussion question smaller, and you can see more of the people. So when you unmute, just identify yourself, and then we'll go for it here. Anybody have some comments or questions about these questions?
Oh, hi. Evelyn, it's Diane Smith.
Yeah, Diane.
Yeah, it's really amazing. Like we're dealing with this right now. Um, they want two young girls to lead the singing and they want their own microphones. And of course,
Uh,
you can't hear the choir at all.
hmm.
Um, and and none the least to say the girls, they can't sing. So it's quite interesting.
Oh no.
Yeah. And they want to do it once a month. Like we could take it once in a while would be okay.
Yeah, it
Um,
gives them an opportunity to maybe learn and
yeah, but once a month.
yeah.
So I'm anxious, eagerly awaiting the solution.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
I want to take the mic away. That's my solution and let them join in, but they want the mic,
Yeah.
hear them. But honestly, I don't want anybody to hear them
Boy.
because, really it's supposed to be a communal thing to me. Singing in a group, the congregation.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's my take. Anybody else
Right.
can jump in.
Yeah.
I
Anyone
think
else?
it's Amy
Okay,
Parker as
Amy.
well.
Good. Yep.
I understand what you're saying because I mean I'm 70s in my 70s and I've been in the church my whole life, and to me a choir is a choir, and I thought it's going to stay that way, but it's really changing. So what you're saying, they want the microphone. Yeah, I have piano, I've got grade 8 piano. I never asked, could I play the organ at the church? But that's what they're doing now.
Hmm.
So, and I just have to sit and watch and keep out of it because I'm not going to be asking. But people want to climb up on the up to the organ seat, play the organ, bring in their guitar. Oh, it's incredible. But that's what they're doing. They want them, and these are all age people. These are people my age.
Hmm.
I don't like it at all, but I'm not going to say anything. In fact,
Hmm.
my philosophy is what my philosophy, how do you call it? My plan of action is passive. Don't say a thing.
Okay.
I don't know how to say, well,
Right.
I'd like to do that.
Yeah.
We've got a carol on in the church. People want to play the carol on now.
Hmm.
And I think the thing is that people are saying, well, people are leaving the church. If we don't let them do all this, they'll leave the
Yeah,
church.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, it seems like there has to be some kind of balance. There has to be maybe
yeah.
some teaching and some learning, but I know there are some folks who just don't want to go that step, but
Mhm, mhm.
wow. Yeah,
Well,
anyone else? Oh,
I was,
Amy, yeah.
if I can say one last thing,
Yeah,
as
yeah.
a public school teacher, I want discipline. Why doesn't the choir direct, like, teach them? Okay, if you're going to do it, you have to do it this way. But
Right.
they're not. They're teachers that we call laissez-faire, like you let them do it. Yeah, it's very frustrating to me. But
Yeah.
as I say, I've taken the tack, sailing boat
Yep.
tack,
Yep.
that I'm not going to say anything, which they don't think I know anything. That's
Is
the
that
problem.
enough time
Sorry. No, it's not enough time.
Oh, it's
Are we
not
ready?
enough time. We can continue this at our break.
Yeah, I
Okay,
know.
folks?
Heard
So,
somebody before at a meeting saying, you're with a group of musicians, you could give us a phone book to read and it would be just fine, yeah. Okay, come
Okay,
on back.
we'll come back, we'll
Thank
come
you,
back
and
to
maybe
this. Thanks,
at some
everyone.
point we can have folks online kind of relay their conversations too. But what is the difference then between listening to a choir anthem, etc., or being in a singing congregation? Anybody have things to offer up from their conversations? Yeah? Hold on. Yeah, there is a switch on those ones.
Hello?
There we are. Okay.
Okay, Don, you're on. I don't have a lot of distance here, but with you, yeah.
Don Wilmer, Don Barton, Fairport United Church. I'm a minister rather than a musician, but I've always worried that listening to a choir, although it can be beautiful and edifying, encourages the idea of worship as a spectator sport or an entertainment for the parishioner, for me, whereas when we're singing together, there's more of a sense of bringing what are the best that we can to God, who should be at the center of worship.
Thank you. That's a core reaction, I would say. Thank you. Anyone else? Anybody? Oh, thank you.
Kathleen from Waterloo, and we had a bit of discussion in our group about different parts of the service being communal and different parts of the service being individual. So for example, where we read a prayer together, that would be communal. When there's a sermon, that's more individual. And some of the music elements could be that same way. And also that if the choir, if there's a special music choir thing or soloist or something, when there's context given, how much more participatory that feels to the people listening. So they know where the song came from, or what's the theme, or how does it fit with what that service is about. But anyway, we didn't really see that having just listening is a bad thing, because we do it in worship services
Yep.
all the time.
Yep.
And having a mix of those things.
Yeah, and I don't think we're into value judgments either. It's just different perspectives on what happens in worship, so thank you. But yes, that's a very good point, that an anthem is like the sermon. It is. It's another way of speaking to the people, but speaking through music.
Yep, nope, we're okay. Kristen and I went straight to an interesting point that neither of us really listens to music very much. And certainly in the church context, we are very, very involved in actualizing music rather than listening. And so the question is, I think, a very different one to ask to a group like us.
It is, because we're all practitioners.
Absolutely. Although I'd just be curious, how many of you folks listen to music all the time? You probably know people who have the radio playing or whatever, yes? So it's only some of us. I find music is not something I can listen to while I work on anything. Certainly on musical things, it's hard to listen to music, but even working on other things, I find music very distracting and occupying. So there's a different chemistry possibly with us in answering your question number one.
When has communal singing felt most vital to you, and why? That's a harder one for our group here, isn't it? I have some answers, but I'm more curious. Here comes an answer.
I'm Max Ward from Minden United Church, and our little group agreed that singing as part of a memorial service, especially if that song that we sing together was something that was very important to the deceased, that was very important. And yet we contrast that with many times when a memorial service is held at the funeral home, it's recorded music and nobody sings. But when it's at the church, we try and sing together.
So certainly more vital when it's actually live in the building. That's a very good point. Anyone else? Question? Oh, Jennifer's coming. Thank you.
We didn't quite get to this, but for me, it's the high holidays. Christmas. You need, like, there are the songs that, like, everyone knows and we sing, and Holy Week. There are some songs that just really move us and bring us closer. And I think for me, those high, holy celebrations and the music that accompanies it just really makes it and is just so vital and
Thank
vibrant.
You. Oh, another All Saints comment coming? You could tell they're a team.
I could think so.
When we came back from COVID,
Yes.
and that to me, having the congregation singing again was the most vital, important thing from my perspective. I had a number of my colleagues who were petitioning the diocese to open up choral singing more. And I said, I'm not so worried about the choral singing. That will happen. But it's, from my point of view, it was really important that the congregation be singing. That's what we're about. So I was the odd man out on that. But coming back and having the congregation sing after COVID, hearing the congregation sing for the first time, oh my goodness. Yeah. How many of us were in tears? You know, when you hear people singing, how many of us were in tears? That was such an important moment for me.
Yeah.
And it just made me think, this is why we are here.
Thank you. Yes, for a moment there I had forgotten the pandemic happened. For a moment. That's the moment we're at now. Good. Are they going to speak to it or? Okay.
Yeah, communal singing is absolutely vital. I have two comments on that. I will completely agree with Adrian. That was a tough thing, and to come out of the pandemic, and you wonder if folks were coming back. That was an important time. Just this past February, our church suffered a fire, and most of the damage is smoke, but we still can't be in our building. So we are in another building. An Anglican church has offered it to us, and that's just so wonderful. But that's where I had the choir actually sing with the congregation. And we had to keep that singing. We had to keep that as familiar as hymns as we could find. And then also we had a funeral just a little while ago where the deceased actually had asked that there was going to be no hymns at her funeral. So she didn't want the congregation singing, but her husband said, okay, choir, I'd like you to come. And so that was just, I know it's not the communal thing, but we were able to be part of that important time. So thanks.
Thank you, Evelyn. Yeah, the pandemic was insanely scary for church musicians, I know. I know people who lost their jobs in the middle of the pandemic. Oh, I lost my job for a number of months. They just said, well, we don't need you anymore. Just like that. And then they regretted it and realized there was some human rights issues and so on with keeping your musician employed. But still, you know, it was a rough time. Our first Sunday morning back in my congregation, when people, that's what people were doing. Everybody was just weeping as they were singing for that first time together. It was such an experience. And my other community, which Chris mentioned, Living Interfaith Sanctuary, went online and has stayed online because they're a widespread community. They're small, but people join from all over North America, and people come in from Singapore and all kinds of places and join us in that. So I'm still singing to the ether. You know, I can't hear anybody singing. I see lips moving, and comments in the chat. That was beautiful and moving, and it still makes me weep missing that experience. I also know, and there was some of this reflected in some of the comments, that our buildings affect how we sing. I don't think anyone raised that so much directly. I always reflect on, this is when we were showcasing More Voices, our hymnal supplement from 2007, and we were singing in a congregation out in Nova Scotia, big celebration. There's 350 people in the building, and they start to sing, and I can hardly hear them. It's a building that seats about 1,400, and that wasn't enough to make the room bloom, despite the fact there were that many people there. And when we sit scattered apart, like we somewhat are here, but you know, it certainly happens on Sunday mornings too, how can you sing together when you can't hear each other? You can't. And so some of the most vital singing I have heard is in little country churches that are all wood and seat 30 to 50 people. You can have 15 people in the pews, and it sounds glorious. One of our two parent congregations that I serve now, building's gone, but they were a relatively small church, 30 or 40 people on a Sunday morning, but the singing was beautiful, just beautiful, because the building supported them in what they do. So that's another thing that we fight, our buildings. If we're a smaller group gathered in a building that's too large for us, and so on. So the other piece, I think, is for vital communal singing, as was raised, is that people know the songs well, that they connect with the songs. So yes, leaning into heart songs that are already well known is really important, particularly when we all came back from the pandemic. I'm sure we were all doing that, leaning into well-known repertoire, not scaring people. But it's our job then, when we introduce new songs, to, as quickly as possible, make them heart songs. Repeat, repeat, repeat. So they become part of the fabric of life in that community. And sometimes I've introduced new pieces, and you sing it 3 or 4 times over the space of a month or 6 weeks, and you just say, you know, that song really didn't connect. Don't be afraid to let it go, right? Some songs will and some won't. Yeah. So yes, a framework for renewal: sing up, sing out, sing on. And I generated 3 different graphics to illustrate that activity. So singing up, inclusive and radical adoration. Singing up reconnects us with the core why of worship, emphasizing it as a vital spiritual practice rather than a mere performance. Singing up involves praising our multifaceted God with passion, reverence, and in ways which reflect the diversity of our communities, those who are gathered in the building, and reminds us we're part of the worldwide people of Christ. That's an important thing too, I think. The church that I serve, Crossroads United Church, we are right on a border of 2 communities. We're on Scott Road. One side of the road is Delta, the other side of the road is Surrey. We attract from both sides, but they're very different cultures. We are in the heart of the largest Punjabi community outside of India. You know, the temple leader who was murdered by agents of the Indian government was 3 blocks from us. That's my community. That's where I live and work. And a big part of what I've been about for a long time, this is just after I moved into that community, I was already playing with music. I've been drawn to the music of North India for a long time. I did some graduate courses in it in Toronto, at University of Toronto and so on. I was drawn to it. I started to explore more and more, just for my own being. You know, I grew up with a real jazz and pop background and all of those kinds of things, a lot of music by ear. But there's something, you know, my friends say that I'm Indian on the inside and white on the outside. That's how they describe me. But I have become, over the past 20 years or so, I've become a bicultural musician. And it has affected who I am. I now write music that is in Indian meters and so on because I just can't help myself. I hear that the English language often settles more properly into a beat like a 7 or a 14, like, oh, for 1,000 tongues to praise my great Redeemer's praise. It just flows much better than, oh, for 1,000 tongues to sing, the waltzing kind of way it often gets given. So those kinds of things. So that's become part of who I am, and it's allowed me to better serve my community. Because my friends, I play in a group called Indian Standard Time. I'm the token white guy in the ensemble. And we play North Indian classical mixed with funk and fusion and all kinds of other Western traditions. And my friends can wander into church and play and join in because I can speak their language. I can say this is in Dadra, which is their 6-beat tal. I can say this is closest to this rag, so they can automatically join in and help. But that's me becoming part of the community. And we are now a home for that community. Not that everybody attends our church, but they all say, that's our church. We belong there. We host Punjabi and Urdu poetry evenings and open mic nights where half the musicians are playing Indian music, Indian songs, and you name it. And it's become a vital part of our community and who they are. So that's just me becoming more bicultural, but that is kind of an example of diversity and answering the wider needs that are out there, particularly when it comes to people outside our doors, people who we never see in church, people who are just from another country, another part of the world entirely. I know I was preaching at a church in Toronto a few years back, and we had sung. It was a different piece than Jesu Tawapano, but it was a Shona song, and I was speaking about how the very principle of singing a song like that, even when there's no one in the community present on Sunday morning, how it's kind of like the Jewish practice of always having a chair, an empty chair for Elijah in your midst, because it means that you are open to the world outside. And at the end of that service, lo and behold, somebody wandered up and said, with tears on their face, they said, "Hi, I'm visiting. I'm from Zimbabwe. I'm Shona. And you sang my song." And the power that is in that kind of a moment. The other kind of connection that my church community has is for years they've been partnering with a small orphanage in Kenya, Busia, Kenya. It's a Mama Orphans Children's Home. And we've had people go back and forth between the communities and money flow from our community to help keep kids fed and get them through school and all of that. But it means that learning songs in Swahili is important to my community. And so we sing in Swahili a fair bit. And that means when our people go there, they can sing something and the eyes are just brighten and widen and whoa, how do you know our song? It's because it's our song too. It's our song too. It does help remind us that we're part of that worldwide communion of God. So one creator, many voices, expanding our view of God. Choosing our music is a theological act, and it deeply matters. Singing hymns and songs from diverse traditions and cultures allows us to see a fuller, truer picture of the divine. This practice enacts solidarity and challenges limited perspectives, fostering a more inclusive and expansive view of God. The community I now serve, Crossroads, the parent congregations, because I was with one of them before the amalgamation and then have been with the combined church for 22 years total, which is a long time for me, but it's been good. But when I first started working with them, they couldn't imagine worshiping in anything other than English. It's like, why would we do that? Why would we worship in another language when we're only English speakers here and all of that? Not even identifying. I could see people in the room who were Filipino, probably spoke Tagalog. We had Korean members there. Like both churches had a good 20% at least people who didn't look like me there in their midst, but they had only ever worshiped in English. And so I think one of our challenges is to open ourselves up and to help our communities discover, like if you're going to sing a Korean song, learn it in Korean. Yes, a 4-verse hymn with many, many words is probably a bit too much to chew in that kind of a context. But still, there are shorter pieces like O So So in Voices United and other hymn books that are easy enough to learn in the Korean. And it just opens up the community, opens up to that wider expression and reminds people that it's not just all about us. So my community now sings, yes, there's Sundays where we sing all in English, but they sing other languages regularly. And we tend to, when they've taken a song like Jesu Tawapano to heart, because when I first introduced that piece, we sang it as a piece of service music for 3 months straight, every Sunday morning. And then they're all singing it from memory in Shona. And we sing it in Shona. Maybe I'll flip to English just once because there's newcomers who come into the building. I always make sure that the English goes up on the screen as well, so that people know what they're singing. Otherwise, it's just random sounds if you don't know the language. So one of the challenges of doing this then is your slides, if you use slides. How many people use projection on a Sunday? It's becoming increasingly common. Yeah, my church does all the time. If you're using projection and you're used to putting one verse on a slide at a time, when you're into multiple languages, you probably have to have at least 2 slides per verse. You might even have to have more to make that happen. So it becomes increasingly technically challenging. But I've had people say that just recently at an event I did in High River, Alberta. They said, well, we could just pull another language off that slide. And or it was pull the English off and get to the English to the next slide. I said, no, because then people don't know what they're singing in the moment. I want them. Plus, there are people in our communities, I'm sure you know them and could name them, the people who say, you're never going to get me to sing in anything other than English. So in my church, they have permission to sing in English. If we're singing in Spanish, there's English on the screen, and they can sing in another language. And that way, everybody feels welcome. We're honoring diversity and drawing the circle wider, but we are also making it possible for everybody to worship at the same time. So I think that's really, really important. So we're trying to foster that more inclusive and expansive view of God. Get people out of that sense that the way I do church is the way everybody does church, don't they? Just like how many of you are in a church that thinks that Wednesday night is choir night in Canada, whereas my church might practice on Thursday night, right? We all do have different kind of programs and schedules, but people get this sense that the way we do it is the way everybody does it. And that's not necessarily true. Not necessarily true. So what does diversity look like? This is a little experiment. We're going to sing 3 different versions of Psalm 121. 3 versions. And then we'll just reflect for a little bit on what this does to the body, to the heart, to your community. You can reflect, because many of you are church leaders, so reflect on behalf of your people as well, how they might react to these songs. Can people in the building see that? Is that okay? I know it's a little small, but 2 systems on the page is much nicer than trying to jam only one on. This is from the new Then Sing collection. In Voices United, this hymn is presented English only and other languages at the bottom of the page. But we've now interlined the Mohawk and the Ojibwe, because many of these hymns, 19th century hymns, thanks to our colonizing presence in this country, are heart songs for our Indigenous communities. What are people singing in many churches in our various nations across the country? They're singing the old hymns. So, Unto the Hills. Anybody willing to play piano for this? Thank you, Kathleen. That's 842 in Voices United. Unto the hills around you I lift up my longing eyes. Oh, whence from me shall my salvation come? From whence arise? From God the Lord doth come my certain aid. From God the Lord, who heaven and earth hath made. God will not suffer that thy foot be moved. Safe shalt thou be. No careless slumber shall those eyelids close who keepeth thee. From God the Lord doth come my certain aid. From God the Lord, filled with most holy care. That's enough. Thank you. Thank you. Good question. I should have made that clear. Another one? More Voices 129? Are you up for some of this one too? Thank you. I love people who bravely sight read. And this is not so much a piano score. This is a score for other instruments, but it'd be helpful to have some of that. This is from the new Then Let Us Sing version too. In More Voices, we did not have the characters, the Korean characters, and now we do on the page, because it favors people who speak that language. I thought you could try this with me in the Korean, and then we can sing it in the English. We don't always have the little accents over top. I know they might be hard to see from there, but when you see the accent over top of the O or the U, it broadens up the sound. Hyung hai yo becomes hyung hai yo. It's a wider kind of a sound. Nun ul is nun ul, ul. More of that kind of a sound. And drum is traditional in Korean music. Not that this is the kind of drum, but to have a little bit of drum along with it. A little bit of an intro, sure. 내가 산을 향하여 눈 우두네 나 외로움이 어디서 오는가 나의 도움이 천지를 지으신 여호와 하나님에게서 오네 is someone to rescue me in my plight. Early from the dear God above, help will come. God is the maker of heaven and earth, all is well. And from Then Let Us Sing, some of you may know this song, well loved in African American congregations. You know, in our tradition, giving people alternatives for language is part of what we do. So when you see the asterisk at the bottom of the page, it offers God as the alternative. You okay with this one too? Okay. This should be very slow. Very slow. Lord, I will lift my eyes to thy hill, knowing my help is coming from you. Your peace you give me in time of the storm. You are the strength, my strength. You are the strength of my life. I lift my hands in total praise to you. Again, God, I will lift my eyes to thy hills, knowing my help is coming from you. Your peace you give me in time of the storm. You are the source of my strength. You are the strength of my life. I lift my hands in total praise to you. Amen. 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 Wow. Okay. So your task for a few minutes is to talk about how you experience those three different pieces, all centered on that same text, so they could all be used in a worship service with that as our centered text. Just reflect on how it impacted you. I know some of them were brand new, some of them were things you might have known for a long time. That affects things too. And what you think it would do for worship in your congregation to sing each of those pieces. No value judgments, no nothing, just reflecting. Okay? So we have Unto the Hills, and we have the Korean version, Negasan Ul, and we have Total Praise, the African American version. So talk amongst yourselves for a few minutes.
Okay, folks, does anyone want to comment on that? Maybe someone
Yeah, I will.
other than
Other than Amy?
well, we should probably let a few other people chat. I think I see that you put something in the
I did.
yeah, okay. Yes, it does. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, none of the men in my church would do it. They go,
Yeah,
no, no.
right.
He's fantastic.
Yeah, great. Someone else want to just share? How would your congregation, some of you who we haven't seen or even heard from, what do you think? How would your
I've
con?
been I've been subbing in a Presbyterian church and in an Anglican church, and both churches have a fair number of immigrants, and it's so interesting in the
Mm,
Anglican church, especially where the Anglican church is growing in Africa to such an extent. But I've felt very well. The last Sunday, I was looking at the Africans sitting at the back of the Presbyterian church and the Koreans, and thinking, what kind of worship experience are they having all of these traditional hymns, which I love and really prefer. But this has really been eye-opening to see that in all of those books, there are pieces that could very easily be taught to the congregations in a short period of time, and would certainly make those people coming from different cultures feel much more involved, or
mm,
it would in some way appreciate their presence in both those congregations.
wow. Yeah, that's
And it
interesting.
doesn't, it wouldn't, if it was done well, and there's good music leadership in both those churches, then the sort of traditional congregation could certainly learn those pieces very, very quickly at the beginning of the service. And as was said, they could be part of the service for 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, and then they would become familiar to everyone. So this has been just the answer to a major question I've been dealing with for the last few weeks. Oh,
Ah,
it's great.
okay.
Evelyn, there's a comment in from Diane Smith. The last one too high for
Yep,
my congregation. I
yep,
don't know if you got that.
yep, I saw it. Yep, yep. Um, yeah, pitches and tessituras in hymns is very interesting. So, as I said, we had suffered a fire, so we're not using our hymn books that we know from, I'll call it home. And now we've been having to use the Common Praise, and lots of their hymns are higher. And I've been asking our organist to play from the hymns that we have in our book, the lower key. But yeah, that's a tough one. But Malcolm, your comments about the preparation goes along with what Amy said, that Bruce is really good at this. And it would be lovely to have him come to all our churches and teach. So it just behooves us as leaders and musicians in the church to learn these different ways so that we can first teach a few and then maybe a few can teach more. So yeah,
And I don't, it's
Louise,
certainly not an unsurmountable problem. And I
right.
was thinking as he was doing the Korean that, there are in this Presbyterian church, there is a Korean, or there are a number of Korean families that are there all the time. And I just know that, they would be delighted, or 1 or 2 of them would be delighted to
Uh,
stay for a minute or 2 after a service and just go through the pronunciation. So,
yeah. And Louise said the same. The education piece is certainly the key to using newer pieces, and introductions to the context of the music is vital too, to get people to come on board. Yeah, yeah, totally agreed. We seem to be saying the same thing here. The leadership just it makes a difference, doesn't it? Yeah, good. Anyone else want to stay on that?
Yeah, it's Ralph Johnston here from
Hey, Ralph.
Sudbury. Hi, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. So my camera's not working right now.
Hey.
But anyway, but I find that sometimes with pieces that have been translated into English, that the words don't always flow as well as they could, and so I
Yeah.
find sometimes it helps if it's feeling clumsy to kind of see, okay, what would still capture the meaning and yet have the right flow, have that, and then it becomes more, it sinks into the body more easily.
Yeah.
Yeah. some of them are wonderful, and others
It's
just
harder.
yeah. And so I don't have any fear of changing them around if I feel that
Okay.
if it's going to make it better.
So you change the music around to fit.
Sometimes it's a matter of changing the rhythm of it, or sometimes
Okay.
sometimes it's a matter of changing the words, but
Okay.
just so that they fit an English style, an English, like our rhythms are, what the way we would say the words, the way they would come
Yeah,
naturally.
right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Wow, these are all really good ideas. Yeah. Now, oh, Sharon, go ahead. You have to unmute yourself.
Thank you. I found that at Christmas, I'm in a Catholic church, and so we don't have quite the same liberty, and we don't use the screens, so we're dealing just with our hymnal. But I found at Christmas, when we're presenting hymns, Christmas carols before Mass, that to present them in different languages, and that has been wonderful. And I have a few people in the choir that could sing something in Polish, and when you look in the congregation and you see people's faces just light up when they hear their Christmas carol, something like that. The other thing is I usually have a small choir sing at weddings, and we've had a number of Spanish couples lately. A few weeks ago, a couple from Venezuela and stuff like that. So we have one or two hymns that have the Spanish included, but the full choir has difficulty singing in another language. So I've been able to get them to sing the refrain, at least in another language, and then we go from there. So
yeah,
it's a small step, but it's helpful.
it's a step.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like we're going to go back here.
Well, time is marching upon us. We started a bit late. We can do some more tomorrow and then carry on with our talk. But anyone have any reflections on that experience? Okay, here comes our resident reflector. One of our resident reflectors.
Okay. I was just having a conversation with Arlene, who's one of our choristers. I think we both sort of felt a little bit, and correct me if I'm wrong, Arlene, that it feels a little bit, to me, I can't get the gut feeling out of my system that it feels a little cultural appropriation, particularly if we don't have, to sing Swahili, if we don't have people who in the congregation who do that, it feels a little strange and it feels forced. Doing anthems for Black History Month or for Indigenous Sundays, and if we only look for material by Black composers during February or Indigenous composers for Indigenous Sundays, that feels a little bit like tokenism. And how do we sort of avoid that? Because at my gut, it jars me a little bit, because
Yes.
I don't know.
I'll start tomorrow with some more on that conversation about is it cultural appropriation, et cetera. That's a very important question. And it's, people react in that way, and they should react in that way. So thank you for that. So that was for I guess the first piece felt normal and standard for your community. Yeah, first one was great, yeah. Yeah, because it's part of the heritage. Yeah. Okay. Felt too Hollywood is the question, the comment. Well, it is big, right? Part of that tradition. Yeah. And that's why it's also set so high, right? It has to be set high because it's supposed to be at the top of our range, total praise. So it has that feel to it, indeed. Thank you. Any other comments, questions, reactions? We can carry on with this tomorrow as well. Anything from anyone online, from their initial reactions they want to share before we wrap up for the day? Nope, all good? Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. We'll carry on with this conversation tomorrow because I think it's at the heart of everything.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bruce. just before we take our break, we have a conversation that Gord Adnams recorded with Joyce Tustian, who is the CEO of Western Management Consultants. This is a firm most of you may possibly only sort of peripherally understand what it does. I think they are going to talk to us a little bit about what Western Management Consultants do. I can speak from our experience on the board that it was a most helpful process for us, and we came to a time of discernment about what we were doing a couple of years ago. So if you guys have that video ready to go for us here, let's go, let's do it.
I'm Gord Adnams, and I serve with the board of the Summer Institute. And today I'd like to introduce to you Joyce Tustian. Joyce is with Western Management Consultants, one of our generous sponsors. And Joyce, when we think of a management consulting company, we don't quickly relate this to this kind of business with church life or church music.
I think that's true, Gord. And for me, a person that has grown up in the church, been very involved in my own church and leadership, and in music, for which I have a great love. As I work through my work life and my church life, I'm starting to see those links, where the kind of skills and tools I bring to my private sector clients, I'm really now wanting to bring as well to church clients. Let me tell you just a little bit about WMC. We are probably one of the last standing independent Canadian consulting firms. We're almost 50 years old, and we have offices in Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, and Toronto. And what we like to do is not come in with a set of answers or solutions, but to work closely with the client and put together a program that we think suits the client. We think that we are experienced enough and have enough tools in our toolbox that we could meet most needs. And so we don't come in with a preset program or a preset program. In my case, most of my practice is with public sector, and most of it is around issues of strategic planning and organizational change, because there's lots going on in the world these days that makes things different than they were even 10 years ago. And increasingly, I want to do that in church life. Churches, I think, sometimes think that strategic planning is too complicated or too expensive. And if you say consultant, they see the dollar figure starting to add up. But with a couple of my colleagues, we are now trying to put together a brief program for churches where we can say, these are the kinds of things that we think you need to do, and this is the way that we think we can help you. And in my case, I can say, and I've done it in my own church. We've had a very stressful, probably 5 years in our church, and it's really been aided by the fact that we have a strong strategic plan. We're clear about what actions we want to take to get where we want to go, and it allows us to focus our efforts and our resources where they need to be. I always say a strategy is about doing those significant few things that allow you to make the best use of the limited resources you have. And churches, we all know, have limited resources. So I think this is something that is really needed. I think the change in societal norms and values is really challenging to churches. And I think the kind of skills and wisdom that we have developed in dealing with people and decision-making elsewhere can be well applied in churches. And I really hope that that becomes more widely known, that we have that opportunity to make that contribution.
Well, I know you certainly helped the Institute as we struggled in 2023 to gather ourselves together in a new way. And we sat down with you, and it was a wonderful experience. And we are still working on our strategic priorities and all the good things you taught us.
Great.
Thank you so much, Joyce, for your interest in us and your generous sponsorship. And I personally can commend you to our friends across Canada who, in church life, yeah, we face lots of challenges. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lord.
Consultants for their support of the Institute this year. Just another little word to you. We have another exhibitor on site. Our friends from Classic Organ have set up some very interesting new instances of the organ in the world. They're on display for you in the church hall. Please, we're on break now until 2 o'clock. So have a good break and give Johnny a visit over there. You're going to see and hear more about these instruments tomorrow on our organ day. Thanks. We'll see.
Simply as a very subtle physical relationship within ourselves, and also by the way that we hear. And so teaching voice, and those of you in this room who are choir directors, who are many of you, know that with your choirs and with your ensembles, you become their de facto voice teacher. And so what our singers know and learn about their voices really comes under our care as choir directors. So it behooves us to understand a little bit about how that works as well. So I'll just make sure we can get this sharing on for the folks who are online as well. Who, of course, who has ever used the phrase shorthand, "Oh, sing from your diaphragm"? Who has ever been in a conversation with one of your singers where they talk about singing from their diaphragm or trying to sing from their diaphragm? I'm seeing heads nod. So, who actually knows whereabouts your diaphragm is? Can we kind of earmark that on our bodies? Yeah, it's quite a bit lower than some amateur singers would think. It sort of sits in and below the rib cage. And I love this little graphic that I found online that kind of shows how inhalation and exhalation work. And it goes on repeat. I think it's on repeat. We'll play that one more time. So the thing to know about our diaphragm is that it is actually an involuntary muscle. This is something that our brains cannot say, "Make me breathe." What our brains are actually doing are giving signals to a whole network of other muscles in your body, and primarily the intercostal muscles, which reside between our ribs, to make inhalation and exhalation work. So in the act of inhalation, and let's just all take a deep breath together. And just blow that out on us if you can. So our two sets of intercostal muscles are primarily what are working to help make this work. We have our external intercostal muscles, which reside along the outside, and we have an opposing set of internal intercostal muscles, and they sort of form this lattice. External being because they're outside, closer to the surface of our bodies. Internal are more inside, and they do this opposing motion. So as our intercostal muscles contract, our rib cage moves upward, our diaphragm contracts, and that's the act of inhalation. Exhalation, our diaphragm is actually relaxing, and our internal intercostal muscles are contracting, which pulls our ribs in and down, creating exhalation. I can hear some folks still breathing and kind of experiencing this, which is good. Keep breathing, please. What are some, in your own ensembles, what are some ways where you notice folks breathing that you want to address? I see everybody doing this. Shoulder breathing, absolutely. Chest breathing, heaving from here. If you noticed in that graphic, in the graphic, there's a really nice low expansion. Everything is working from below and up. So chest breathing, clavicle breathing, our shoulders, collarbone, shoulder heaving. And for me also, gasping and breathy breathing is a sign that something is not fully opening here, that we're not letting the vocal folds completely open to allow that easy inhalation of breath. So these are things that are just symptoms for us to notice and watch for. Ways that we can encourage proper breathing. For me, and I actually just broke this rule, I noticed at the beginning of this presentation. That's how deeply ingrained this is. I find sometimes, particularly with beginning singers that I'm working with, take a deep breath, often encourages them to use other parts of their body or expand in their shoulders or find strange places where they're trying to put their air. So, well, deep, sometimes I've sort of changed how I feel about that one, but don't ever ask for a big breath. With some groups, don't even ask for a deep breath, but a low breath or a full breath are actually, to me, more accurate descriptors of what we are trying to ask our singers to do, which is to release and allow air to enter into the body as naturally as it does when we're not paying attention to the process. Other ways that we can, why don't we stand up and we'll actually do some of these. Other ways to encourage proper breathing in our groups. Just for a moment, imagine, if you can, imagine an inner tube around your whole body. Can you actually map that out for me slowly? And breathe while you're doing this. Where do you feel that that actually is? Or maybe if you're a special type of person, I actually have one friend who has a form of synesthesia where she sees dates of the calendar in a ring around her body, like, you know, June 11th will be in an exact coordinate. So these are you can imagine these as coordinates as well. So can we take a low breath in and allow our inner tube to expand, just in. And out. And can we do 2 more of those and see if you can let it inflate with your arms in time with your air so that the motion actually never stops. And exhale. Because we never stop breathing. So that motion of in and out should never stop. And out. And let's do one more and just see if you can map out that motion with your arms perfectly in time with your breath. And push it all out if you need. I like this one because this will actually relate to some conducting fundamentals that we'll talk a little bit more about later. Excuse me. Take your imaginary straw. Can you go and sip in 3 times? Can you also take one hand and put it here? And let's do that again. Where do we feel that engaging in our body, that motion of sipping in through a straw? Where can you feel that? You can either point or put your hand up and describe. Kathleen says a bit in your back. It's sort of the sidewall, back. Yes, in the back. Solar plexus. So here, you can actually feel, this is a good way of actually landmarking what your diaphragm is doing, because you can feel that quite prominently when we do that exercise. Anyone else? Let's do it one more time. 3 sips in. Good. And another good one, especially for kids, is you can blow out the candles on a candle. This is the other way, but this is the opposite motion. Go. Does anyone here work with a children's choir, either at your church or in a community? Three folks? Okay, I have a couple things for the children's choir folks in the room a little bit later on. Sniffing in through your nose encourages a similar sort of thing. Let's have a seat. I'd like to talk really quickly about our larynx, otherwise colloquially known as the voice box, which is very, very small, but it's the magical part that makes our voices do what they do. And this is just good for folks to have, sorry, I'm just trying to get rid of, there are some things in front of my screen. That's better. Just to be able to name different parts of our apparatus so that you know that they're there and what they do. And so we have a couple of different cross sections here. The epiglottis, of course, is that flap that opens and closes to allow us to swallow versus breathe, so that we make sure that different things go into the right parts, into our stomach versus our lungs. The hyoid bone sits at the top of the larynx and is what the entire structure is suspended from. So interestingly, this is the only bone in your body that is not attached to any other bone. It is a free-floating bone and cartilage, and it supports the entire structure of the larynx. It's kind of magical. We, of course, have our vocal folds or cords, and you can see in this middle cross section there are actually two that are on top of each other. We have in the bottom here, which is what's generally known as the true vocal folds. This is the part of the vocal fold that commonly we know as making sound, phonation, singing. That's what we talk and sing with. What's above that is what's known as the false vocal fold, which generally is not involved in human vocal sound production, but sometimes in certain special cases can get involved. So I didn't bring this today, but if you're interested, I would invite you, and if you can stomach it, to look up a laryngoscope on YouTube of someone doing heavy metal, screamo music. If you can kind of imagine that growly sound that's really tonally aggressive, that is involving the false folds in extra vocal production. It's really quite, in its own way, a virtuosic kind of technique. And they develop really fine control over this. But that's one small application that involves the false folds. We have three different cartilages, principally, within our larynx. The thyroid cartilage is the uppermost part, cartilage. It wraps part of the way around the larynx. It doesn't quite enclose in the back. And for those of us who have a prominent Adam's apple, or a notch, thyroid notch, you can feel that in the front of your, just below your chin. That's a part of the thyroid cartilage. The cricoid cartilage is the lowest cartilage. It is the only one of our three cartilages that does actually completely wrap around the larynx. And the arytenoidal cartilages are these two little pyramid-like shaped cartilages that you can see here. I think we can all see that okay on the screen. And the purpose of all of these is that different muscles, which we're going to talk about next, attach to these different cartilages so that we can move our vocal folds in different ways to produce the sounds that we need to produce. So the arytenoidal cartilages, and we have our trachea, of course. This is maybe a little hard to see. I didn't know the screen would be all the way up there. But for those of you who are online, you'll be in good luck here. This is a representation of the different muscles that are within the larynx. So I'm going to start with the one that I think is probably the easiest for us to see where it is. If you see in the right-hand corner that little circle there, that's representing the cricothyroid muscle or ligament. And if you can imagine what would happen if that ligament contracts. The vocal folds are, you can kind of imagine them suspended horizontally here. Imagine that contracting. What's going to happen at the top? It's going to stretch, elongate, and the pitch is going to get higher. So if we're talking up and up and up and up, that's our CT contracting. The opposition to that is our thyroid-arytenoidal ligaments, and that's in the middle of this diagram here, you can see. Kind of, not quite where the arrow is pointing to, that's something else, but just above it. And that's the oppositional muscle group. So when the TA muscle contracts, you have that opposition, the chords get thicker, smaller, pitch gets lower. And then finally, where we have the arrow pointing to, we have our crico-arytenoidal muscle groups, and these are involved in the opening and closing, or abducting and adducting of our vocal folds. So you can actually do this right now. I'd invite you to just put your fingers like this. So this represents how our vocal folds are aligned within the larynx. And if you just go, just give yourself a little vocal fold massage. Just open and close, nice and easy. This is something you can actually ask your singers to do if they just need a little break in rehearsal. This is a really good kind of self-massage technique. Just so that's that muscle group. We get our crico-arytenoidal muscles opening and closing the folds. So all that is to say, I think it's important to share this with singers to sort of demystify the process of what is going on in there. A lot of our relationship with our voices can be quasi-spiritual or just a little bit not grounded. And even to share a little bit of anatomy and voice science with our singers can help them get an understanding of it's not magic, and that, you know, this is a part of our body that we can learn more about. So, any questions just about the more information part of the presentation before we go on to, we're going to do some warm-ups, we're going to do some participatory things, but questions about what is happening in here and in here. Yes? I can repeat the question. So yeah, I'll repeat the question, sure, so that folks online can hear as well. So the question was, sometimes my voice gets tired and sometimes two tones will come out. So I'm wondering do you mean is that like a voice crack, as we would kind of colloquially say, like you're trying to sing one note and then it maybe pops into a different note? A little bit? So for that, we have two different parts of our voice, so to speak. We have what is colloquially known as our head voice. Up here, I worked a lot with kids for a long time, and so I actually have a very pretty good demonstrating falsetto. Some of the altos might have heard that last night. So we do have our head voice and we have our chest voice, and these are different places where we resonate our voices. They're in relationship to each other. So for example, if I'm singing a particular fundamental in my chest voice, and I'd have to do this a little bit higher actually, where I could actually make it pop. But there are relationships between those that are harmonic. So you could be singing a note in a more delicate or transitional place in your voice, and have it, and if you switch or crack or change the resonance, it will shift to a different partial in the harmonic series. And so perhaps that might be a little bit what you're thinking of. I know, when you're working on connecting different vocal registers, singing through what we call the passaggio, the middle, the transitional range of our voice, that's something that we definitely work on. So if you're feeling tired, that's certainly something that you could experience when you're singing. Yes? Sure. So what's going on, in the best way that I know how to explain it to singers that, in particular, I work with a lot of singers who are coming to a choir as an adult for the first time. And really what's going on has nothing to do with the diaphragm, which is why I really discourage us to use that language. What is going on is singers are learning to use the big muscle groups in your body. So here, use them in opposition to each other in, I was about to say controlled ways, but perhaps in relationship to each other might be a better way to put that, to support the voice. And so that's what gives us the sense of support, is engaging the big muscles in our body, of which the diaphragm is not one. So we're talking abdominals, obliques. Those are our big core muscles, and they're working to support us, our posture, and our sound as we sing. So that's why I encourage that sort of language, particularly with my less experienced singers, as opposed to sing from your diaphragm, which is something that we can't really feel or so much control. It just does what it needs to do to keep us alive, right? But we can feel our abs, we can feel our obliques, we can feel when we do a good sniff breath in, and I can feel my butt tighten, and I can feel my abs engage when I breathe out on a hiss. So those are actively engaging large muscle groups in good breath production. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yes, I would say yes, it definitely makes us more secure than shallow breathing or breathing from here. And not only secure, but it will ensure that a singer doesn't tire so quickly and perhaps run into other symptoms of really what starts with, is our breath working right? Almost anything that is a symptom of singing that we're not expecting can be related back to, is our breath working in the way that we want it to or not? That's an excellent question. Thank you very much. Yes?
I have this microphone sitting here, so I might as well use it. I have a question about language around vocal fatigue as well.
Sure.
So when you're speaking to a choir about voices being tired, that's almost a bit of a red herring, isn't it? Because you're talking more about full body fatigue a lot of the time. Is that another linguistic sort of nuance that we should be pursuing? Or, what is going on when I say my voice is tired? If I've been singing a long time and it's tired, what's actually happening?
Sure. Well, there could be a number of things. I mean, number one, you could actually be holding tension in one of the muscle groups in and around here, in which case I don't think it's terribly wrong to say my voice is tired. And also, we do notice when we get hoarse from over agitating our vocal folds. Either that or being dehydrated, being overtired can cause us to overexert in ways that we don't need to. And so, I mean, vocal fatigue is a real thing, I think is what I would say number one. But because so much of our body is involved in that symptom, Certainly not getting enough sleep, not drinking enough water, you know, our posture being, you know, perhaps holding tension somewhere can lead to vocal fatigue as a symptom of something else as well. So I've never necessarily thought of it in that way, that it's a problem to talk about one's voice being tired, but it is important to encourage our singers to think about holistically their whole body as part of themselves as a singer. So that would be my answer to that question. You know, when I invite professional singers into my choirs, which I usually do with my university choir at the start of a term, to give a similar sort of talk, I mean, inevitably they end with some sort of how to take care of yourself part of the talk. And I don't think we need to go into all those details today, but taking care of yourself will take care of your voice. I think we know that. Okay. Let's do some warm-ups, shall we? I'm going to, for those of you who are online, I'd invite you to join in on this, actually. So you're welcome to sing along with us at home. And what I actually need are a couple of, probably at least, well, I need 4 to 8 note takers for this session. So that means that at some point you might actually just step out and stop participating and take a few notes about what's going on. Do I have a couple of hands up? Maybe folks who have, okay, 1. Okay, and just remember what number you are. 2, Janet. I could use at least 2 more note takers. Blaine? Okay. And a 4th. Dan? Take notes at a specific time in what we're going to do, and I'll tell you. Do you have a notebook and a pen? Okay. All right. So, to the note takers, your questions are as follows. What is the exercise that we're doing? What do you think it is addressing in terms of our bodies or our voices? And where does it come in the sequence of our warm-up? And I suppose number 4, a little bit less important, but number 4, anything that you notice about the way in which I, or perhaps someone else that I invite up here, is presenting and demonstrating with us. Okay. Do I need to say those again? What is the warm-up? What do you think it is addressing in terms of our bodies or our voices? Our full body as the instrument. Number 3, what did you notice about where it came within the broader sequence of all of our warm-ups put together? Why did we do it when? And number 4, if you can think about it, anything that you notice about the way that it's presented or demonstrated. All right. I think we should warm up. Can we stand up, please? All right, and let's start with, it's Jennifer, right? Yeah, so Jennifer's going to start taking notes, and I'll let you know when to go on to the next person. All right, so let's just start by closing our eyes. And I'd invite you to just observe your breath as it's coming in and out of your body. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Feel how low into your body you can breathe that air. Where does it go into your body? Where does it travel? And as you're breathing, I'd invite you to see if you can make that breath also connect with your contact with the floor. What does it feel like to experience your feet fully in contact and grounded in the floor? Perhaps you can just sway back and forth just a little bit, however it's comfortable, front to back, side to side, finding your center of gravity. Where do you feel balanced, tall, and released and supported on your feet? And as we're still breathing, I'd invite you to also bring that awareness into your knees. You can wiggle your knees a little bit. What does it feel like for your knees to feel strong and supportive and released? And still breathing, allow that awareness to travel up to your hips and your pelvic floor. And if you're like me, you inevitably notice that you're holding on to something here. What does it feel like to make sure that that is released and supportive? And maybe you feeling your pelvis just tilt slightly back so that it also feels released. That your spinal column is tall, growing out of that core base of support. As you travel up your body, feel your chest open or opening. Feel your shoulders generously opening, perhaps falling down and backwards like they're melting into your back, or that they're just hanging, supported but released where they need to be. And feel your head tall. Maybe you wiggle it back and forth a little bit on your neck. Feeling a sense of alignment between the top of your head and the base of your feet. All connected, all supported, all released. And in your own time, take 3 more low breaths in, connecting the whole experience of your body to your sense of breathing, calm, health, and happiness. And I'd invite you, perhaps on this last breath in, to breathe in something that you want to bring to our time this week together, and breathe out something that you just want to leave at the door. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Now that we're all a little bit sleepy, can you shake out one hand? Shake out another hand. Shake out one foot. Shake out the other foot. Shake out anything you can shake out. And can you breathe your hands up, please? And push all your air down and out on shh. Let's do that again. Breathe your arms up. And can we go down and out on a f this time? And the last little bit. Good. And breathe your arms up in front of you. And wrap them around yourselves and give yourself a hug. I like this one. We did this last night. And just wiggle a little bit from side to side. Smiling. Let your body know that it's good. And shake it out, please. All right, can we move on to Janet taking some notes? That'd be great. Can we just breathe in one more time? Breathe in with me. And can you exhale on S, please? And let's put our arms here while we do this. We're going to do that one more time. Breathing in and out. See if you can feel the support right there as we do this. And when we exhale, just let your body naturally release. We're going to do one more of those, and I want us to see if when we inhale and breathe back in, if that can be silent in the room, so that the air is just entering into our bodies. No effort required. Breathing all air out on S and. And when you get to the end of your air, just let your body expand, release, fill up with air. Lovely. Can you do what I do? Whoosh, 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 whoosh. And all our air out on SH, please. Oh, I like a sigh, too. We can do a good sigh. Can we do a sigh from the top all the way to the bottom? And oh, lovely. Thank you very much. Can you just hum and chew a little bit? Just and up high and down low. And can you go nya, 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 nya? And do it with your hand as well. So we go nya, nya, nya. Can we go nya, 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 nya? Can we go? Can we go, oh yeah, oh yeah. Can we go, hello? Hello. And say that to someone else on the other side of the room. Can you go, hello? Oh, good. Very, very good. Thank you very, very much. All right. Good. I've been told I should stand when I'm here to make sure people online can see me. Can we just start on a hum, please? Can we go, and as you do this, I'd invite you to just put your hands like this. So we feel a sense of our lips are closed and buzzy, but we're creating space in the back of our mouths. Ready and go. Lovely. Can you put your hands down? Can we do this on an open mouth hum? And please. Ready and go. Good. So we should feel the tip of our tongue and the bottom of our back teeth. We should feel the height of our tongue really against the palate, in the soft palate in the back there. NG. Ready and go. Do one more on ooh for me. Ooh. And one more ooh. Good. Thank you very much, everyone. Sounding good in here. Can we do with a lip bubble or a lip trill? And if you're so inclined, Join me in just doing this while you do it. And go. Going up. Very good. Keep going. One more. And an easy sigh, please. One ah. Thank you very much. Shake out something you need to shake out. Very good. Can we switch note takers? So Blaine, I believe, is next. We're going to do the following. Zinga zinga zoo, zinga zinga zoo, zinga zinga zoo, zinga zinga zoo, zinga 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 zoo. You got that? Do it with me. Ready and go. Zinga zinga zoo, zinga zinga zoo. Good. Can we have somebody volunteer to come up to the front and do something that helps us get some energy behind this? Because I need somebody playing at the piano and somebody up here. Anyone? Any takers? There is no right or wrong answer in this, and our note taker is sitting down and taking himself out of contention, which is exactly what he should be doing. Dan, to come up here and wave your arms and get some energy. Oh, we can do it. We can do it. Anyone? Oh, shy people. Yes, sir. Thank you. Okay, so zinga, zinga, zoo. Our pattern goes like this. Remind me your name. We met last night. Thomas. This is Thomas, everyone. Thomas is our conductor right now. So the pattern is, can we all sing together? Zinga, zinga, zoo, zinga, zinga, zoo, zinga, zinga, zoo, zinga, zinga, zoo, zinga, 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 zoo. All right, can you do something that gets us some energy in this? Uses your arms and see if they respond to you. All right, let's do it. We're gonna go up a little bit here. 1 and 2. Zinga, zinga, zoo. Good. We don't necessarily need to do what he's doing, but in fact, let's not. But see, Thomas, what did you think? What did you think? Do you think that motion matches the energy and sound of what we're doing? What do you think? Not quite? Try something else and see what you think. See if you can get it to match a little more with what we're doing. Ready and go. Zing, 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 zing. Bad. Let's try one more thing, something a little bit different. See if you can get it to match with the energy of what we're doing or what you think we want to get the sound out of the choir. One more time. Ready and go. Zing, 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 zing. Can we say thanks to Thomas, please? Thanks for breaking the ice, Thomas. Do we have someone else who might be willing to come up and give this a try? We might do a different exercise. The idea here is how can we match gesture to sound production is what I'm curious about. So Thomas, I think people responded a little bit differently to you when you started to think, oh, maybe the first time for me was a little bit all over the place. But then you started to think, how can I focus that a little bit more, right? And that's what we do as conductors, is we try to focus sound and attention and energy. So, is anyone else willing to try that? Neil? All right. Neil. Well, this is good. All right, so the exercise is zinga, zinga, zoo. We're following Neil. We'll see how we do. Breathe us in. Ready, and zinga, zinga, zoo, zoo. Good. Neil, what do you think about, good, we can applaud that. Yes, good. What do you think about, we noticed Neil going up as the exercise went up, which I think is a very natural response to what you might think to do. What was our experience of that? Anyone? It helped with energy? Okay, that's good. Yeah, we're getting some energy from Neil. That's good. Yeah, Margaret? Sure, it did help with visualizing pitches, which might be something that you want to do with your choir. What did you experience physically, Jennifer? I felt so too. I felt a little less grounded when you went up, when we also were going up in pitch. So paradoxically, for me, I think this is zinga zinga zoo, zinga zinga zoo, zinga zinga zoo, zinga zinga zoo, zinga 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 zoo. As they go up, you go down. What do you think? You want to give it a try? All right, see if we experience it differently. We're going starting on, let's start up here. See if we experience this differently. Breathe for them. Zinga zinga zoo, zinga zinga zoo. All right, let's try it one more time. See if you can think even more about in and behind you, Neil. What do you think? So we get that really low space. Ready and go. Do it again. I think we're making progress. And ready and go. Can we do that all one more time? Can we bend our knees when Neil bends his knees? You don't need to do all the other things, but as we're going higher, he's bending his knees more. Can we do that with him? I really like that. Ready and go. Can we say thanks to Neil for jumping in? What did we notice about, well, I noticed a couple of things. I'll say a few things and then ask what you noticed. I noticed the more Neil did this with us, the more he released, and we experienced that release in our sound. There was a sense of, I'm just letting my arms go and give you that energy. And I also liked when you started to think about, hey, the sound is coming from here behind me, and I can see that in your arms and in your legs. Anyone else, what did you experience? I could be totally off my rocker here, but for me, I heard a difference in your sound quality when that was what we were shown from Neil. Anyone else? What did you experience as Neil got with conducting? You can have a seat. Thanks. Uh-huh. Good. Yeah. So when there was a sense of giving us the energy and the impulse towards the downbeat. Yeah, a very good observation. Anyone else? Dan? Yeah. So there is something, and a little bit in the last example that we got from Neil, there was a little bit of finishing up here as well. And I could feel that in us too, but we were making some good progress this way. Good. Let's do, can we say thanks to Neil and Thomas one more time? This is very good. Let's do something just nice and familiar to all of us. Let's stand up again. Can we do five vowels in a line, ready and go. One more time. And again. Do we have somebody who would like to come and conduct this? Jennifer? Lovely. So we're thinking, what is the impulse and the shape of Yeao for us? There's no wrong answers to start with. We're just working with it. Ready? Keep going. Okay. Let's do one more. Do something different. And. Ah. Okay. Anyone? What do we notice? Differences? Not preferences yet, but just different experiences between some of these gestures or something that you liked in particular. Dan? In the first one where we kind of had that. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, so when we saw, oh, I want those vowels in a line, so we were visualizing something very specific. Good. I like that. What else? Uh-huh. In the third time through. And we had more rhythmic impulse from you as well. I felt that, which was excellent.
She's very smooth.
Mm-hmm.
It matched the smoothness of the voice. Very smooth.
I liked, sometimes again, you were kind of experimenting with physically, where are these sounds? Was there something that you thought worked really well and something that you thought didn't work as well? You liked the side to side? Okay, I like that too, experimenting with horizontal space. I liked this one. Yeah, that worked really well. There was one that kind of came up like this and seemed to evaporate the energy a little bit, right? So we notice these things. We notice these things in the way that we respond sound to gesture. So let's do one more, maybe two more of the one that you really liked. E, and whenever you're ready, bring us in. And one more. That might have even been the best one yet. Yeah. Thank you, Jennifer. Yeah. Yeah, fairly soon. We're going to do, actually, we're going to do one more thing. And just stay standing, please. And this would be, who was our last note taker? Was that Dan? That was Dan. So just think about this last exercise. This is the same thing as what we did last night. But I'd invite you just to sing any note you like on oo. And gradually, let's decide on one pitch that we sing together. You might need to change notes. Which one's it going to be? It's almost there. Someone might need to decide, oh, maybe I'll move. I think it's that one. Breathe whenever you need to. Let's keep that going. Ooh. If there are tenors in the room, can you sing? Ooh. Ooh. If there are altos in the room, can you sing on ooh? If there are sopranos in the room, can you sing on ooh? Off with me. Can we sing ni, ne, na, no, nu? And go. Okay, very nice. Have a seat, everyone. What we're going to do is actually, I think we'll take a little break. When we come back, we're going to sort of take this up. Note takers you have detailed notes, but this is for everybody. I want you to, we spend a lot of time kind of going through the motions with warm-ups, I think, and particularly with church choirs. I know that the pressure to get through the rep can often really cut into our time to do sound and vocal development intentionally, particularly at the start of a rehearsal through a warm-up. So what I hope that we did today in this first part is, number one, just give some examples of possible warm-ups, and number two, start to think critically about how and why we warm up in a systematic way. So that's the question to think about through the break, really, is what stood out to you as an effective warm-up from the various examples that we had? When did it occur in relation to other warm-ups that we did, and why do you think we did it? So what was it? When did it occur? And why did we do it? What were we addressing? And we'll talk about that when we get back in 20 minutes or so, Chris?
Let's try to come back at 3:30.
3:30, so that's in about 20 minutes from now. And in addition, we experienced a little bit of conductor-choral relationship, and we'll start to dig into that a little bit more in our second session as well. But for now, take a good break. Thank you very much. Okay, thanks, folks. Thanks for willing to be a little bit young at heart during our warm-up. I think it's a good thing for people to connect with their inner child sometimes, particularly when it comes to singing. But also because not necessarily every warm-up that we did together is necessarily something that I would say you are going to do that with your particular choir that you work with. But each of them were intended to draw our focus to a particular part of our singing in a particular way. And so that's what I'd just like to take about 10 minutes and take that up now. And really start with, that's why we have some note takers. And so, Jennifer, you were first to take notes, right? So let's start with a few notes from Jennifer, and then we'll open it up to the room. And my question to you is, what did we start with and why? And why don't we can actually use the microphone for this. So this is Jennifer, and to everyone online, we might be able to get Jennifer as well. That's okay. You can talk.
Face this way. If I was to summarize the first warm-up, I would call it sort of a body awareness. We closed our eyes, observed our breath. We were feeling things in our body. So, for example, feel breath low in our body. How does that feel? How does that feel to connect to our feet and to be grounded? Do you want to hear more, or should I summarize a little bit?
That's an excellent summary. Is there
Okay.
anything else that anyone wanted to add about their experience with, indeed, what I would call a focus activity at the very beginning for us? Kathleen said it felt wonderful, relaxing, calming. Debbie, you had your hand up? Sure, it's right behind you, so we can pass around the mic.
It felt very uninclusive to me,
Okay.
as somebody who can't bend her knees, who can't feel the floor with my braces. So for me, it felt very uncomfortable.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing that, and that's good feedback for us to know, so thank you. Anyone else, and that's for me to consider in the future as well. Anyone else, your experience, Dan? That's okay.
Body scan.
Okay.
Is what I was thinking, like yoga or whatever, and coming from the outside, inside, kind of setting the intention, becoming aware. That's what I was thinking.
Okay. So really, we did begin from a place of, for me, it's not only about focus and awareness on an individual level, but what we're aiming for me at the beginning of a warm-up is also creating collective intention. What are we here to do together? And so focus kinds of exercises can take other forms. With younger singers, I will often do something a little more energetic, but that gets their focused attention on me. So that's a good way to start. What else Jennifer, did you have notes on at the beginning of our couple of beginning activities? Before we switch to note takers.
Well, you kept asking us to think about what does it feel like. And I guess that was maybe a way to release tension.
Okay.
I wrote also to connect to the whole body experience, to calm ourselves. Yeah, and then he mentioned to have an intention, breathe in something to bring to our time here.
Yes, I did say that at some point. So again, that's kind of about collective intention and bringing that into focus and body awareness. Okay, thank you. Let's move on. We had Janet taking some notes as well. And the question is, what did we do and why do you think we did it?
Well, I had put a note that we had a whole bunch of different vocalizing exercises. So starting with combining the breathing with an exhaling on a or SS sound.
Okay.
And each time we did it, we added something more, feel the support from the diaphragm. Can I say that now?
Let's say feel the support. I like that. Feel the support. Feel the support.
And then inhaling without any sound. So cleaning up the breathing in. Then we had a series of
Let's pause there. Okay. Let's pause there. Why would we have started with, at this moment, you said breath, which is perfect. For me, that's the category of what we're addressing here. So why would we have included, for example, those sorts of sounds? Janet or anyone?
Just connecting the breathing with vocalizing.
It lets us hear it. It lets us experience where we're breathing from a little more physically. So good. Yes, Kathleen, questions? Right. So we haven't started to phonate yet or do anything that has to do with singing per se, or that might get people into singing mode. And if there are ever questions or comments that people want to jump in online, please just let me know. These questions are really for anyone who is here and participating. Good. Where after that, after exercises to do with breath, and there were a few more of them that were a little more energetic, but what do you think we moved on to next?
Yeah, the
Janet?
sounds with the shs and the fs and the humming and chewing, and then we got into some short small interval exercises that would go down a half step each rep.
Good. So you had humming and chewing. And for me, this is in a category now of what I call phonation, or connecting breath to sound making, phonation being making sound. Starting with unpitched or pitch not specific exercises, again, is a way just to invite people into non-judgmental sound making and relationship with their voice. So I always like to move from a sense of what is our breath doing into how does that directly relate to making a sound. And then, you're right, then we went into, let's do a specific exercise. And we started with humming, just on an or an And any thoughts from the room or for online of how you experienced that, or what might have been the purpose of starting with that kind of a sound? A hum or an open-mouthed hum, an Jennifer? Yes.
Humming is more of a gentle way to start making sound, I suppose?
Yep. Gentle, easy on the vocal folds. We're not worrying too much about the sound quality yet. We're just trying to ease ourselves into it. Good. Janet, any other thoughts or notes from you on some of our easy phonation exercises? I think there was one more that I did that I would put in that category. So Janet said small interval exercises. So we did just up and down in tones and semitones on a hum. And then larger interval exercises, and I believe, if what I recall correctly, is we did a lip trill or a lip bubble on a fifth. That's an example of what we would generally, in call a semi-occluded vocal tract exercise, or an SOVT, if some of you have heard that term. That's similar to singing on a ooh or on a or on a z. These are exercises, or sometimes you might see vocal coaches, voice teachers recommend singing through a straw. And what this does is, by creating less space or almost no space between our lips for the sound to escape, it actually increases breath pressure back on your vocal folds, which makes it easier to phonate. And so this is, again, it's a way of saving energy, being healthy and helpful to our vocal folds. So starting with m's, z, brr, helps us to encourage singers. Where do they position their voice? Neil, you're about to ask a question or a comment.
I don't know if this was intentional, but I sensed that when we started with humming and then moved through some of the exercises to the lip trills, we were getting progressively more and more airflow, because humming doesn't take that much air, and yet lip trills and some of the other exercises do progressively take more. Was it the intent to build up to greater breath control, greater airflow?
I would say we're definitely intentionally increasing in the amount of energy we're putting into the exercises. Yes, for sure. Okay, let's question online. If we can get that in the room. Who do we have? Question or comment?
I'm just going to note a few of our comments here. One person said, when you said starting with the open sound and the hum, that maybe it's not intimidating. And so you don't have to start with something specific and detailed, but it's not intimidating. Someone else said they liked the idea when you were touching the side of your face with the back of the hands to feel space. They thought that that was really helpful.
Summarizing, Evelyn, and for the input from folks online. And while it might sometimes, depending on your group, feel perhaps a little bit childish or even intimidating to get them physically involved in some way, even if it's just doing this, doing these things. I know the older your singers are, the less likely they're going to be willing to join you on that. So thank you all for just joining me. I have this problem, with my university singers, of course. But if they do it, they'll notice that the sound changes. This creates a different sound just by, modeling for ourselves what we're doing inside our mouths. Giving ourselves the freedom to release with our hands or our arms creates a different sound in the room that is more vibrant and resonant and free. And so as much as you can be willing to be that slightly off-kilter person for your singers and invite them into that process, I think is a really healthy thing, in ways that continue to be inviting and appropriate for your particular ensemble. We're going to move on. Blaine had some notes, I believe, moving into different types of exercises. And let's not comment on conducting for now, we'll move into that, but just what were we doing, how did we do it, and why? Oh, I think I turned it on. We're just trying to get the microphone in the room or online. Checked.
I don't think I took as many detailed notes as some of the other people, but so this is what I wrote. Matching gesture to sound production. Focusing on sound, attention, and energy to the exercise that we were doing. Is that good?
Let's just take a pause for a moment. Blaine said energy. To me, that is this category, is what I would call resonance and energy. is where is the sound placed? What does it sound like? And so we were doing examples of, we did a just zinga zinga zoo exercise. Yeah, so talk to us about that and how that relates to energy and sound quality.
I thought that was the exercise that we had done, because that's what I'd written down. Well, it's an energetic exercise, so it lends itself to that. It really shouldn't be dead. I mean, there's an energy to it, so I'm not really sure what else.
With adults, by the way.
With adults.
Adults will do that one for you.
Yeah, you take it down.
Okay. Okay, good. So anything that has to do with placement of the voice or energy, I put in this bucket called resonance and energy. And we sort of also a little bit, I skipped this a little bit, but we sort of started to focus on range as well, expanding the degree to which we'll progress to extremes of the voice. We did an E-A-A-O-U exercise going down in our range, and if we'd had time, I would have let that go even lower to make sure our tenors and basses get really well warmed up into the bottom of their range. So resonance and energy and range is really what those we're focusing on. Placement, vowels have a lot to do with resonance as well, feeling where each of those vowels feels in our mouths. I had an excellent question from someone at the break that we'll actually follow up on that particular vowel exercise. But just to make sure we finish this time, Dan, did you have a couple of notes about, is the mic working now? That's great. A couple of notes about where we ended.
The fourth exercise was sing any note, and then we all sort of found a note. That was an interesting experiment in sort of giving up your claim. At the end, we had two notes, I think, that I gave up my note to join the crowd. And then we did ni, ne, na, no, nu. It felt like a wrap-up exercise. It felt like we were listening to intonation amongst ourselves, and we'd done the work, and then we were just sort of fine-tuning and sort of setting the stage for cooperation, hearing other people in their parts, and then you were asking Patrick where are the tenors and go here, so everybody's sort of aware that we are all a group now.
Absolutely, and the key word that you said at one point, Dan, was intonation, and that's exactly what I would call this segment of a warm-up, is intonation and connecting to ensemble. So I'm glad you noticed that. What we've sort of done here together, and I appreciate everyone's involvement, and note takers in particular, is just devised what essentially is on this handout for you that please, I can put this up online, and I believe Evelyn has a copy of this that she can send to online folks as well. My choral warm-ups cheat sheet. And this is just the categories that we've worked through together, along with a couple of examples of exercises that relate to each of these categories. The things that I would hope that we take away from today, number one, are that this sequence is important, and I would really advocate as much as you're able within the time constraints that you have in your own rehearsals to work through this sequence consistently. Maybe you need to leave out a category here or there, or every other week you get to one of these, but each of these components relates in some way to the mechanism of vocal production and or what we are here collectively to do as a musical body. So we begin with focus, we move into body awareness, and we sort of connected those two in the exercise that we did today, those two categories. Moving from the body, we move into breath exercises just relating to the mechanism of inhalation and exhalation experiencing that, physically mapping that. Phonation, or the production of sound, again, starting easy with semi-occluded vocal tract exercises, SOVTs, hums, buzzes, lip trills, things that are encouraging easy phonation. And then moving into, again, exercises with greater energy. So thinking about our vowel morphing exercise like E-A-A-O, or rhythmic exercises like zing, zinga, zinga, zoo, or I'm sure others of you have examples of this. After that, range exercises, expanding our overall vocal range. That can relate to exercises that are specifically related to range, or simply just increasing the range of our exercises across a warm-up. And finally, ending with intonation exercises, building a sound and listening culture together in our ensemble. And we didn't quite get to this because we weren't dealing with specific music, but when it's applicable, I like to end with some sort of a warm-up that relates to a challenge that singers will find in the music that we're going to do. Whether that's a difficult rhythm, a difficult interval, a particular sound color or type of singing that we have to do in a particular piece, right at the end of your warm-up is a good place to put that. On the back of this handout, I had a few people asking in the chat, so I'm just going to make a note that this is here, but I don't think we're going to move through this today. I have a couple of examples of just fun warm-ups to do, particularly with younger singers or singers who are young at heart. There are more of these where they came from, but these are particularly exercises that focus on specific vowels and vowel concepts in fun ways, because a lot of what we're doing in a warm-up is building a sound in our choir, which means being attentive to the vowels that we use together. And so if this is something that interests you, there are more where these came from. But perhaps, well, you're all up to do one more thing, I think. Can we just stand up and we'll do this first one together for the young at heart? Because I have a lot of people who like this. So this is Itty Bitty Robot, Row Your Boat. And we're just going to be silly for just a moment. Put down your music. You don't actually need your music to do this. But it goes like this. Itty bitty robot, row your boat. Itty bitty robot, row your boat. Itty bitty robot, row your boat. Itty bitty robot, 2, 3, and go. Itty bitty robot, row your boat. Itty bitty robot, row your boat. Itty bitty robot, row your boat. Itty bitty robot. I have, in the intervening years since making this handout, taken out those couple of 16th notes in there that tend to mess people up strangely. So, good. And you can row your boat while you do this, if you will. We'll do it a couple more times. So just do a little arm circle with me like you're conducting. 1, 2, 3, and go. Itty bitty robot, row your boat. Itty bitty robot, row your boat. Itty bitty robot, row your boat. Itty bitty robot. So 1, 2, 3, and go. Boat. Itty bitty robot, row your boat. Itty bitty robot, row your boat. Itty bitty robot. 1, 2, 3, and go. Itty bitty robot, row your boat. Itty bitty robot, row your boat. Itty bitty robot, row your boat. Itty bitty robot. You can do it slowly. And go. Itty bitty robot, row your boat. Itty bitty robot, row your boat. Itty bitty robot, row your boat. Itty bitty robot. And you can do it quickly, which we've done. So that's a good way to just get people moving and engaged. And we had a couple people asking online about some of those children's choir exercises. So that's a little teaser for you. You can have a seat, everyone. Thank you. Actually, I think what I'd like to do is, I just said sit down, but I'd actually like to get us up. And if we can, if there's enough room, to make a circle in here around the organ. We're going to do a little exercise together, and I think I can get this camera involved so people can see what's happening as well. Perhaps we might have a roving camera person. Do you think you can do that?
Let's move the whole table.
Okay.
Oh, I see.
We might need to do a little bit of circular camera work just to try to make this work. We're going to segue into doing a few things that relate to dead. Okay, I can maybe do this with my computer. A couple of things that relate to conducting and how we experience conducting. So can we let's actually fully enclose this circle here. And I'm going to turn on my video. And if you're online, oh, hello. If you're online, hopefully one of these screens will help you to follow along with us. But we're going to do a couple of things just related to gesture and experiencing gesture in our bodies. Earlier in the session, you got a chance to see a little bit about relationship between sound and gesture. So that's what we're building towards a little bit here. But I'd invite you just to close your eyes. And at your own time, I'd like you to start to breathe your arms up. And if you're online, you can stand and do this with us. And if you'd like to turn your video off, you can, but I don't think anyone will mind if you keep your video on. Just at your own pace, I'd like you to breathe your arms up and feel like they're inflating from below and maybe slightly being pulled up like marionette strings in time with your breath. And just start playing with what sort of space. Our arms shouldn't be any higher really than our belly buttons. Start playing with what sort of space you can make in and around in front of your belly. Just making small circles, experimenting with a feeling of release and space and hanging in space. And all the while staying connected to your breath. So our arms should actually be moving in some sort of relationship and time to our breath. And there might just be making little movements. But somehow see if you can have the impulse for whatever those movements are coming from your breath. And just keep doing that in your own time, but when you feel ready and vulnerable, you can open your eyes. And I'd like you to slowly just bring your attention to me and just start to move in relationship to the way I'm moving. And see if you can bring your breath into that kind of relationship as well. I have a big ball or a balloon. I'm going to start to pass it around the circle. And when I do, it has to be really obvious that I'm passing it, so that there's a sense of activation. And then the rest of the time is really a sense of receiving, listening and responding. When you have the ball, you might move in a slightly different time and tempo and see if you can get people to be in relationship with you. So, catch. Pass when you're ready. Johnny has it. You can take your time with it. You don't need to pass it right away. You might need to spread out a little bit there for Bruce has big arms. See if we can be in relationship with Bruce and the speed. Take your time with it, folks. Adrian, take a little time so that we're in relationship with your breath and breathing. Yeah, not so much. Right? We're in relationship with Adrian's time and breath. Good. See if you can lift it and make sure we know that you're passing. By showing us that was lovely. We're in relationship with Jennifer's breath right now. For me, we're slowing down. We're in relationship with Shelley's breath now. When we pass it, there's more energy to pass it. Make sure we know it's being passed. We're in relationship with Mary's breath now. To me, it feels easier. That was a lovely pass. We're in relationship with Janet's breath now. Keep feeling it low, so we still feel that low expansion. Low expansion. And when we pass, we're in relationship with Thomas's breath. Keep it gathered, keep gathering it. We're in relationship with Kathleen's breath. You can see that. Take your time with it. No need to rush. When we pass, make sure we see it pass. Lovely pass. We're in relationship with Debbie's breath. We're in relationship with Dawn's breath. Keep the feeling of low. We're in relationship with Daniel's breath. We'll work our way around the whole circle. We're in relationship with Blaine's breath. Feel the difference. Give it a good active pass when you're ready to pass. We're in relationship with Margaret's breath. Make sure we know that it's an active pass when we see the pass. To Dan. And Dan, you can, when you're ready, pass back to me. Good. Can I just pass it back to you once? Just watch the level of energy so that we know. Receive. I'm going to toss it back to me when you're ready. And I felt that one. Good. And just slowly close your eyes. Come into relationship with your own breath and time and tempo. And slowly let that unwind and down. And when you're ready, maybe you stop. Okay. Open your eyes when you're done. Now, that might have, folks who are online, I hope you were able to follow a little bit along with that. There's a couple of questions here for you. What was your experience of coming into relationship with someone else's breath and body? Can anyone just put that into words, or give us some thoughts and comments about that? And I did want to make sure we went around the whole circle, so that everybody had a chance to be the conductor, so to speak. I'm asking, and including anyone online, relationship of coming into relationship with someone else's breath and body. Dan, a couple thoughts?
Putting the focus on the other and getting out of your own thoughts in that moment.
Sure. So it's a little less conscious. It's just kind of being, responsive. Anyone else?
I had to be intentional about it, and I had to give up a degree of control.
Saying intentional?
I had to be intentional to take the cue from the other person, and I had to give up a degree of control.
In responding to other people?
Yes.
Yeah. Anyone else? Jennifer had your hand up. We can take one and two, and then we'll.
I thought it was a little bit quite intimate, actually, sort of an intimate experience with this person. Although I wanted to change it after I got it, but.
Well, changing was okay because we do breathe and respond at different rates, and we were a little timid to hang on to the ball a little bit at the beginning, folks. But then people got a little more comfortable with, okay, people are going to look at me for a bit. Blaine, you wanted to just make one last comment or thought?
It just felt a little unnatural to give up something that, you're like your breath, and it's just we don't do that often enough.
When you were responding to someone else, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're in our own bubble sometimes.
Is what he said. This sort of exercise, two things about this. Number one is it does, in a way, break down what the relationship between a conductor and a group is. And it's one of sympathetic response. And it begins with someone's breath and the quality of their breath. And their comfort in sharing that with people. Number two, when I asked you, pass the ball, that is a moment of intention or activation as opposed to receiving and experiencing together. And for me, if there's one thing that I know about conducting, this is it, honestly, that you can take away. There are active beats and there are receptive beats. And I used to call them passive, and I've come to say receptive because I think that's more accurate to what we are doing. When we give a piece of information, we are inviting people to respond to us. The rest of the time, we are responding together. So there are active moments of, and now I pass the ball to you. The rest of the time, we're receiving together.
Patrick.
Any thoughts or questions on that before we move on to one other thing? Christopher.
Yeah, I was just going to say, as someone who was not actually participating but watching all of the interchanges, to varying degrees, but to a significant degree in most cases, you had the sense of passing along something of value. So once the ball became yours, it was actually a valued thing that you were passing on to someone else. I had that distinct impression, and I think there's a great metaphor for you there too.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's a very generous and insightful comment, Chris. We do, when we're working with our groups, we do sort of hold them in the palm of our hand in a relationship of care. We were just actually having a conversation at break Kathleen and a couple of us about moments where as conductors we've ended up in relationships of, or moments of either giving a form of pastoral care or some form of care, really. I'm thinking most of the experiences I can think of relate to my community choir, so it's not necessarily pastoral in that sense, but we are responsible for the care of our singers in that way. So the way that we commune together gesturally, I think speaks to that. What I'd like to do is we can go back and sit down, and we have about 15 minutes. So I'd like to just, I think we can do this in 15 minutes. I'd like to get us into pairs or trios. And what you'll need is we're actually going to do a little bit of conducting. And if you have a music packet, you should have Cast Thy Burden Upon the Lord from Elijah. And I think I have a few extras if you need that. So if you need one, let me know. Yeah. And if you're online, I believe Evelyn has this, and this is something that we can do online as well. And what I'd like to do is, first of all, Chris, would you actually mind just helping us with this from the piano? Here's a copy. There are a couple of things that we can work on in terms of conducting challenges in this piece. But I think what I'd like us to think about when we're going to get into a couple of small groups and actually experiment with this is the notion of active and receptive beats. When in this little chorale do you have to give information? How do you give it? And what are you doing or not doing for the rest of the time? So whatever voice part you want to sing, let's see if we can just sing through this together. Folks who are online, hopefully you have access to copies of this. And here's our starting notes. Thank you very much. Good. For my interpretation, I wouldn't take a lift after a shaded, but that's up to all of us together. You can decide on your own. Okay, what I'd like to do one more time is if we can get into, first of all, if you would prefer, we're going to do just little small groups. If you would prefer not to conduct, can you just stand up right now and put yourself somewhere in the room? if you'd prefer not to conduct as part of this exercise. Folks online, we'll get you organized in a moment as well. I'm hoping that's not everybody. Good. And if you spread yourselves out a little bit, find a corner of the room, okay? And if you're okay with conducting, can you pair yourself up either with one of these folks who would like to either sing or just speak in rhythm, because it's going to be a little chaotic in the room, so that's fine. Sing or speak in rhythm. Go and find a partner, or perhaps you can pair up with one other person who's in the pews. If you are online, I think what we can do is, if it's possible, to do breakout rooms of 2, or perhaps as close to an even number of pairs as we can. Is that going to be possible? No need for music. It's just what we'll do if you're online is we'll have the person who is responding mute yourself. I've done this before. So if you're in a breakout room, you'll have one person who conducts and can just speak along in time, and one person who's going to sympathetically speak and support with them with their microphone off. Then offer a little bit of feedback on, is it clear when we have an active beat? Meaning, was your beat clear to encourage a breath or a lift where we need to? And just work your way through the whole, or even if it's just a couple of phrases of the piece, providing some feedback to your partner. Folks who are online, that will work. Okay, they're going to do breakouts of 4. I'll let you do that if that's okay, but I'd like for as many people who would like to be the active conductor to get a chance to do that. So if you're online in a pair, that would be enough time for each person to work their way through this once and get a little bit of feedback, okay? So folks who are online, I think Evelyn is organizing breakout rooms, which is great, that's happening. Folks who are in this room, see if you can get yourselves in a pair or a group of 3. I do have a few more copies, yep. Here's a few, you can pass them around the room. We're not so interested in the singing, but work your way through it in time and experience what it's like to provide that sense of activation when we need to have an active beat. Okay? All right. Debbie, you're going to join a group?
I don't have to if there's, I like for, let other people have an opportunity.
So are we going into groups, folks, or?
Evelyn, I think Tim just forgot to put you in one because you're a hostess.
Everyone's in but Evelyn.
Everyone
Okay,
in.
that's fine. That's fine.
Okay, we won't put you in. Everyone else is in groups.
Okay.
If you have worked your way through it once, provide a little bit of feedback to your conductor. Were you able to follow? What was the quality of their breath? Did it match what you needed? And then if you're going to switch conductors, please go ahead and do so.
Hello, everyone in your breakout rooms. Are you doing okay?
Yeah, we're done. It was good.
Good.
I'm teaching piano at 5, so I think right at 4:30 I'm going to leave. And
yeah, that's fine.
yeah. Oh, it is 4:30 or whenever he's done. Yeah.
Catherine, how's it going?
Good. Yeah. Yeah, it was a little strange experiencing the ball exercise on this end, virtually.
Yeah.
I honestly thought he was trying to get us to think about like just about gesture, but it was more than that, you know?
Yeah.
Just how we use our bodies, but it was more than that. So I was surprised at about the direction in which he took it.
Yeah, and it could really expand. Like you could do that exercise for half an hour itself.
We're going to bring it back together, folks, as
Yeah.
we're coming to the
Okay.
end of our time. So when you're ready, I'd invite you to just come back here, and if we're online, maybe we can come back from breakout rooms. Breakout rooms are coming back in 1 minute, so we have a minute. I saw.
Folks, I hope that was enjoyable. If nothing else.
Okay, we just need to wait another 20 seconds or so to make sure we get everyone back from online into the main room. The longer we keep working at this, the better our hybrid facilitation gets. So I'd just like to say hello and thank you. If we could see everyone who's online up on the screen who's here. We're really grateful for you joining us from all across the country. This is an ambitious and wonderful thing that I think really speaks to the community, the essence of community that is at the heart of what SICM is trying to do. So thank you to you folks. Appreciate you being here. I sort of threw you all in the deep end a little bit with this exercise. Thank you for going with it. I heard from a couple of different groups just taking up a couple of things that you experienced, but maybe if we could have quickly just 10, 20 seconds if there is something, one person from each group, what you noticed about the experience of active information, active beats, and receptive beats, and where they go in relation to this particular chorale. I find chorales are very good for working on this particular aspect of conducting technique. So one person who has an observation about their time conducting, there's somebody online who wants to, Amy. Amy,
all right.
and thank you for doing this in a breakout room.
So I was with, oh my God, I can hear you. I was with Ralph, I think, and I'm very aware because I played piano of tempo, so I was religiously following his tempo. And it's amazing how, I don't know him, but he's the conductor. So you have to follow whatever he does. He did a good job. That's
Job. Whoa, there we go. Snaps for Ralph. I think we're getting feedback somewhere on here. So I heard from a couple of other people, just being vulnerable and being willing to be in that leadership role is a good experience for some of us here. So thank you for taking that on. Any other experiences, particularly of the information giving and receiving part of this exercise that you experienced? Dan? Yes, I'll just come to you.
So I had tried to give the active information a beat before it all started. And I thought I was giving the energy, but I think I need to show the energy more a little bit. And I wondered if you had any tips on, so one, that's how I do it. but maybe I need more body information given.
I do have one tip on that that we addressed with a couple of people. And again, this is the second, if I know anything about conducting, it is this. And now we do something. If when you're giving a piece of information, you can think, and now you will be golden. If we try to give a piece of information where it needs to happen, you are already too late. So, and now we sing. And now we breathe and come back in on the next phrase of the chorale. So, the relationship between and now, there is always the preparation for the active beat that is, if not more important than the activation itself. So if you remember and now, you will be good. One more person who wants to just chime in with their experience of information giving and receiving in this exercise.
Yeah, I'm online, it's Diane. I was with Catherine, and her active beats were on the cutoffs for every time, and it was very clear, because I do believe she did the and now thing, so I could tell. It was very clear to me when she stopped, when the cutoff was. Yeah.
Glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that some of you were able to do this online. I recall doing this a bit during the pandemic, during online teaching. So we learn and retain some things. And glad to hear that it can translate through the internet as well. That if you're giving good information, people will be able to know. Anyone else? Final thoughts? Yeah, Janet, one last thing. I'll bring the microphone to you.
Mine is more of a question. How do you deal with, in this example that we're doing, bar 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fifth bar, we have a pickup on the fourth beat after a pause.
Good. If we'd had a little more time, the other really good thing about this particular chorale as an exercise is it demonstrates all different kinds of fermatas and all different kinds of active beats on different part of our 4-beat pattern. So if this is something that either confounded you or really interested you, because it interests me, but I'm a conducting nerd, so spend some time with this and think about how do I give that active beat on these different beats. So in bar 5, we're looking at bar 5. Stay in the, what we need to do is give beat 3 again, because that's where we breathe. Stay in the, and now. He never will suffer the righteous to fall. And so think about, you can break this down by thinking about what part of my beat pattern is my active beat. Is it beat 1? Is it beat 2? Is it beat 3? Is it beat 4? What you need to give is the beat before they're coming in. So in measure 5, they come back in on beat 4. You need to give an active beat on beat 3. And I think many of us were kind of working our way through discovering that as a concept. Or to others, it might just come a little more naturally, and that's okay. But this is a good piece to break down that particular concept. So if we want people to come in on beat 4, our active beat is always the beat before that they're coming in. So after that fermata, it's beat 3. Does that answer your question, Janet? And I think I appreciate that we'll stop with that as the last question, because that gets, oh, maybe we can take one more. But that gets at the heart of what this really is as a technical conducting exercise, which if we had a little more time, we'd delve into more. One last item from Jennifer. Okay, I can show that one more time, certainly. Yeah. So why don't we actually all, we can do this together. Let's stand up. You can either watch me or try to conduct with me. And this will be the last thing we do today. And folks who are online, please join in as you feel called. And we're still in E flat major. We can just kind of sing our way through it. I'll probably sing a little bit too, so I might move this further away. Here we go. Cast thy burden way for the piano. And that was an active beat on 4. Sustain the active beat on 3. He never will suffer the righteous to fall. Active beat on 4 now. He is at thy right hand. Active beat on 3. Thy mercy, Lord, is great. Active beat on 3, and now. And far above the head. Active beat on 3. Let none be made ashamed that wait upon thee. I have an opinion about bar 2 of the second page that I discussed with 1 or 2 groups, that this one is a sustain through. So in this case, shamed that we don't actually need to show an extra active beat because we're not lifting there, if that's your musical choice. But that's the time that we have for this today. Thanks for joining me in a little bit of extra Mendelssohn. And to those of you online, thank you very much as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Patrick. This has been a most enjoyable and interesting afternoon. We will reconvene everyone at 7 o'clock. And just to remind folks that we do have the Classic Organ Company on site today, and Johnny is around. He could probably use a little help with this move. So if anyone is feeling they've got a little bit of strength in them left in the afternoon, we're moving an instrument from classic organ into the sanctuary to be used as part of our sessions tomorrow, and Johnny would probably appreciate some help doing that.